Welcome back to another episode of Guitar Talk with Todd. Here is the audio edition of a portion of my interview with the great Jimmie Vaughan. I am releasing this today on Jimmy's birthday, so happy birthday to Jimmy. This was originally featured in the Buddy Guys Blues magazine in print and online, and many of you have asked to hear the audio version of it. So please subscribe. If I get some new subscribers and I see that you all like this, I'll go ahead and release more of this interview. So thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it and enjoy my interview with the great Jimmie Vaughan. So what are your first memories of music, Jimmy? Not necessarily the blues, but just music in general. What's like the first thing you remember?
Well, I always loved music. My uncles on both sides of the family played music and were in bands. So my mother's side, my uncles played guitar, and they liked country and western, like Merle Travis and Bob Wills and all that stuff. And then on my dad's side, he one of his cousins played with T. Dorsey, and that's Tommy Dorsey, and he played trombone. And then my other cousins on my dad's side played drums and bass guitar. So I was just around a lot of that, and my dad knew a bunch of musicians. And so when I was, like a little kid, I was around a lot of guitar playing and stuff like that. So when I finally started playing, it was just laid out. So
yeah, I mean, obviously you were influenced by the blues, we know that for sure, but I also wanted to talk about, I believe you were strongly influenced by like Scotty Moore and Link Ray and Paul Burleson and like the 50s rockabilly guys.
Absolutely, all the 50s, was I started playing like in the early 60s or trying to play, and in Dallas it was pretty amazing, just all the music that was around. There was a lot of guitar playing and a lot of cool bands everywhere, even at school there were bands,
Yeah. So I've heard that when you started out playing with your bands in Dallas, it wasn't quite what you were looking for, which led to you moving to Austin. So was Austin drastically different than anywhere else?
What it was at the time in Austin, in Dallas, a lot of the bands were like cover bands. So people if they hired a band, they would want you to play, a certain thing that was on the radio or something.
Right.
And so I had been playing in Austin with one of my early bands that were real popular at fraternity parties. And so that's how I got introduced to Austin. But I started snooping around in Austin, and there was a lot of what they called beatnik bands that didn't play what was popular, if you know what I mean. They would just play whatever they wanted. They would play, like there was bands like the 13th Floor Elevators, and have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, you know what? I have, actually. Yeah. It's a great name.
Yeah, and they weren't playing, it wasn't stuff that was on the AM radio, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And there was a band called the Conqueror that played in Austin, and there was a lot of, it was sort of like San Francisco hippie scene in Austin. So I thought to myself, if they'll let these guys play this stuff, they'll let me play blues.
Right.
So that was my thinking, and so I just did it. And most of the stuff I just didn't know any better, and I just did it anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So
Now, did you kind of...
And then I started meeting people that liked blues also, and then there was a couple of good musicians around Austin that liked blues, and there was a guy named Bill Campbell that, you know, that I met, and he was, you know, playing in a blues band, and, you know, it was all like Freddie King and those kind of things were real popular.
I was friends with Jerry Lee Lewis's guitar player, Roland James. I recorded with him and stuff. I know you got to play him in the Great Balls of Fire movie.
I got to meet him before that, and because we used to record in Memphis a lot.
Okay.
And he was a fantastic musician and a cool guy. And it was really Dennis Quaid wanted, you know, real musicians, and we did it in Memphis. So, I mean, we actually went, you know, we were actually at Sun Studios, and my band, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, was already in Memphis recording. So,
right,
we were making a record while we were making the movie, while we were doing all that stuff. So, it was a fun time.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so what's the story we've all heard about your band opening for Jimi Hendrix, and Hendrix broke your wah-wah pedal or something?
No. I'll tell you you want to know the truth or the
No, I want to get the truth from the man himself.
Okay. Well, what really happened was I was in a band called the Chessmen, who I was telling you about earlier, who did a lot of had 45s out in Dallas, and they were all 21 and I was 15. So we got a gig. We would open for people when they came to town, like big stars that had hits. Like we opened for the Mamas and the Papas, and we opened for different shows when they would come through town. And so Hendrix came to town, and we got to open for Hendrix. And so it was on a Saturday night. So the music stores were closed. Hendrix had busted his wah-wah pedal. Well, that was part of his sound, and so I had a brand new one. So they came to me and they said, look, kid, we'll give you, it wasn't Hendrix, it was his road guy, and he said, look, I'll give you $150 for this wah-wah pedal, and you can go buy a new one on Monday. I said, fine. And then they gave me his one that he didn't like, because it was a certain kind that was called a Vox.
Right.
Wah-wah pedal.
Okay.
So I just happened to have a brand new one, and so, and I got to meet Hendrix and his band and everything, and it was a trip to be 15 and being on a show with Jimi Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
Himself, and just I can remember what Hendrix did when he was tuning up backstage, and it was just a trip. You can imagine.
Wow. Oh, and I'm sure that was a story that Stevie was jealous of later on when he told her.
Yeah, well, at that time, see, if I'm 15, Stevie is 11, I guess.
Okay.
So he couldn't come.
Right.
What happened is he broke his the night before somewhere, wherever they were.
Okay.
And it got broken, and he didn't have one. And so when we got to the show, his roadie said, look, Hendrix doesn't have a wah-wah pedal, but you've got a brand new one. He said, I'll give you $150 after the show, and you let Hendrix use it. We'll take it, and then you can go buy a new one, because they only cost $29.
Wow.
They were 29. I think it was 29, or seems like that was right. Maybe it was 69. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't $150. That was way over.
Right.
So anyway, they just needed it to do the show, and so I just happened to have a new one.
Well, it's great to get that story directly from you because we've all heard it so many times the wrong way. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say, well, Jimi Hendrix loved Jimmie Vaughan's wah-wah pedal so much that he wanted to buy it from him.
Right.
Or, it wasn't that at all. It was just that he broke his. He didn't have one, so, he needed it to do his show. So I gave him mine. He gave me $150, and I went and bought a new one the next Monday.
Wow.
The stores were closed on Saturday night, right?
Right. I love your voice, but for many years you never sang. You just played guitar. So what was it that finally made you start singing? The vocals.
I never sang in the T-Birds when I was a kid. When I was like a teenager, I tried to sing. I was listening to Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy and all these records, and they were great singers. And so when I sang, it was like, you sound like this, sound like a little dumb kid. And so I thought, well, maybe I can just play and nobody will know that I'm a little dumb kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then later on, I had to either sing or go home. It was the way it felt. I'll tell you a story. When I did Family Style with Stevie, we thought of all these songs that we were going to show to the producer, who was Nile Rodgers.
Right.
And and most of mine were instrumentals because I didn't sing. I didn't sing on stage. Maybe in the shower, but that was it. So we got to the meeting with Nile, and so we played all these. Stevie and I played these instrumentals for Nile Rodgers, and then Stevie had a song that he sang that he wrote with Doyle, Big Doyle. So he played that, and then Nile looked at me and says, "What are you going to sing?" And I said, "Well, I don't really sing." He said, "Well, you do now."
Wow.
So it was one of those situations where I had to either put up or shut up,
Right.
And so that actually is a better way to have it than for me. I mean, I just had to step forward and sing anyway. So the first song that I sang was Good Texan, which I wrote. And, it seems if you're worried about singing and you want to sing, just write your own song, because who can say whether you sang it good or not,
Yeah, that's a great point. That's true.
I mean, we're talking about being desperate here.
Right. I always like to ask this question. It's kind of a hard one to answer, but you have tons of music left to make, Jimmy, and we're all looking forward to that. But 3,000 years from now, how does Jimmie Vaughan want to be remembered?
Well, I would like to be remembered as somebody who loved to play and was trying to play what he felt, play his heart.
Well, that's a great answer, because you definitely do.
Well, I want to keep doing that, and I just enjoy playing, so that's why I do it.
Right.
And so, I love my job. Let's put it that way.